Yes. Now I'm gonna shift things. You okay with that?
Okay.
Because I'm just like every other fan. I say it over and over again. I have some free talk because there are some things that rub certain people wrong about different styles of quarterbacks. And Caleb Williams, I'm going to put things into proper context with this whole pink phone, lip gloss, and painted fingernails thing at the USC women's basketball game. No, I'm going to put it in proper perspective, okay?
Okay.
Because on Twitter, it's one thing. And actually discussing it with a mature conversation, trying to understand and evaluate on YouTube, that's different to me. Now, I don't like a guy who's in the spotlight. I don't like him when he's supposed to be training, getting ready, doing all this stuff, not having his head down. And that's something so many fans loved about Justin Fields. But let's be honest, it didn't work with Justin Fields either. Just because you put your head down and go to work doesn't mean that means you're going to be the number one quarterback in the NFL. Justin Fields was not the number one quarterback in the NFL. Caleb Williams is neither today, and I'd like to see him out of the spotlight, off Twitter, not reposting things, not liking things. I'd like to see that, but that's a personal preference. That has nothing to do with how it translates to the field. Nothing. That's just a personal preference for me wanting my employee of the Bears to go to work. Something that I haven't brought up on Twitter that's true in this perspective, think about where he was. He was at a USC women's basketball game, and while he's a little bit more flamboyant than me and a little bit more, not flamboyant, Hollywood is a better word. He's more Hollywood. He's more accepted that type of lifestyle. Pink fingernails, pink lip gloss, and a pink phone case could have 100% just to do with the fact that he's supporting the women's basketball team. Might not have anything to do with his sexual preference and everything else. Everyone's making a big, that is not what I've tried to do on Twitter. It's not about sexual preference, and it doesn't matter, to be honest. It's just a matter of the fact of, is he taking that spotlight and putting it on him instead of where it should be? Hopefully he listens to Jalen Johnson, and when it comes time to get to work, when it's time to come into the locker room, the draft is done. Let's get in there to rookie minicamp. Put your freaking head down, go to work, and prove yourself. That's all that matters at the end of the day. When everything's said and done, that is the only thing anyone's going to care about is, does he prioritize? And that's what Eberflus and Eberflus and Poles talked about in the recent meetings, were prioritization in this NIL type of generation, in Twitter generation, and where people have their phone and he didn't pick up his phone. Can he prioritize, put first things first, do things the way he needs to do, have the people around him to make priorities? And if he does that, he's going to shut everyone up, like me and anybody who's a doubter or a complainer. He's going to shut everyone up, and he's going to prove himself. And that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't really. So to me, it's just that it's a new generation of, he's much younger. I'm older than Caleb. I don't pretend to be in that generation. I don't pretend. My mom didn't do nails. I don't know if my mom would have did nails, maybe I would have painted my nails as a kid. I mean, my little sister painted, I have painted my little sister's nails, and I painted my daughter's nails before. So I mean, things have happened like that, but I've never painted my own nails. I don't really have nails. I bite them off, so that's not really a thing. But hey, listen, if he comes out and beats the Packers and has FGB on his fingernails, how many people are gonna love it? I mean, that's the realest thing here. Is, to me, it's about how he plays. I don't care. I love his vibe. I love that he's carefree. I love that he's not worried about what people think about him. Yeah, he's vibing. Yeah, we're vibing out here. Like, and I love that. I love that. And I can tell he has been grinding, and he's not as Hollywood as JJ made it seem. He's not lined up. He wasn't shaved. He didn't get a haircut or have a bunch of chains on like a lot of these other guys did at their pro days and stuff like that. So he's out there. He looks like he's in grind mode. He's been in Florida working on his biomechanics and his biometrics to make sure his release is as quick as possible and on top of that, as consistent as possible. That's something that was brought up on an MODG podcast, is his ability to, whether he's throwing the ball 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 yards, whatever it is, it's coming out at the same speed. And his ability, the fact that he's working on things like that already before he's even been drafted, I'm into it. I don't. He went to a women's basketball game to support USC's basketball. Hey, more power to him, because there's not been much attention to women's basketball in the first place. That gave millions of Bears fans reasons to turn on the USC women's basketball game last night. So great job, Caleb, and keep vibing.
Well, he better be in Florida. He better be putting his time into the craft. But you just mentioned, now I'm trying to give proper perspective and I'm trying to come around. You more than anybody, Swifty. I've had personal DMs with Swifty where
50.
we're in there, dude, just can't everyone else who can just jump on the Caleb bandwagon. But I'm going to tell you right now, if he wins this, if he went 17-0, that's unrealistic, guys. I'm just having the free talk. If he went 17-0, there's not a person in the world that's going to be hating, that's a Bears fan, that's going to be hating on him. And it doesn't matter what A, B, C, and D are.
17-0,
it doesn't matter.
We're going to my nails, baby.
But you just mentioned you painted your daughter's nails. I've done that too. I'm a bear dad. I'm a daughter dad. I'm a bear dad. My nails are not painted right now, but my daughters have painted my nails several times, and they love to paint my nails because that's just what little girls like to do. How many little girls are going to be with daddy if they see Caleb painting his nails, letting their daughters paint their nails on Sundays when they're watching the game? I don't know. Maybe it is a good thing. Maybe I just need to be more. Maybe I need to be more progressive and come around to it and let it flow.
But I care less about. What I care about is the football player. I've never been someone to judge a player. Like, I mean, Chicago's the city that had Dennis Rodman, and we're really going to worry about someone that's a guy who wore a wedding dress and colored his hair and his nails and everything. No one had. I mean, they didn't care when he's getting 25 rebounds a game. So I don't care about anything.
But what's the difference there? What's the difference? Dennis Rodman won multiple championships and had 20 rebounds a game and was a freaking bruiser down there. Caleb's got to prove himself still. And that's what fans like me and that's what it is. Until he's proven himself, we're going to nitpick the little Hollywood things that come out.
But let's not. Dennis Rodman and Caleb Williams don't really compare. Dennis Rodman was crazy. He didn't show up to practice. He was an alcoholic. He was married to a stripper. Like, there's a million things. Like, Caleb just paints his nails.
Weekends off to Vegas.
Calm down with that. Yeah, like Caleb, so far, every single person, and Ryan Poles has said it, that he's been a great leader. He cares about his teammates. You could actually see that. I know some people want to say it's fake, and I'm sure his PR people did tell him to make a good show at the combine, especially since he's not working out. But it looked genuine. When Xavier Worthy ran the 4.21, Caleb Williams was running over there screaming. That looked like genuine excitement of a guy who was happy for one of his friends or someone else that he knows. And that looked like real care to me. That looked like compassion. That looked like someone who did care and that people relate to, because Xavier Worthy seemed excited that Caleb was coming up to him too. So, and I saw that all through his pro day as well. He's a guy who interacts well with his teammates. He's a guy who he's used to the spotlight already. He's been in the big picture. LA's bigger than Chicago. So for once, we have a guy coming here where usually the city of Chicago, the spotlight is much bigger than wherever they've come from. I think this is the first time where Caleb's like, I'm used to this already. I'm ready for it, guys. I mean, we heard it from Fields. He said, I'm built for this. But I think Caleb really is kind of built for the spotlight of Chicago. He's been in LA, which is this is different now. Chicago's different than LA, much more blue collar. But I think he's ready for the spotlight, and I think he's going to prove it with his talent on the field. And I think that's something he's done. I don't think anyone could watch his tape and be like, man, I wouldn't be excited to have this guy as my quarterback. When you just picture him making the plays he did at USC in a Bears uniform, that gets me ready to watch Bears games right now.
Well, let's just flat out put the plain and simple out there. We're picking 1-1. How can you not be excited about the fact that we have a franchise-altering quarterback?
We've never taken the highest guy we've ever taken is Mitch at number 2, and that was awful.
And how much we gave up for that too. It hurt it even more. This we've got as a gift from last year. So obviously it's a way better situation. 100% we have to give him the leeway. We have to give him the ability and the opportunity. I'm saying it right now. We're taking Caleb Williams. We've said that all along. I've said 90%. I'm still not going to say 100 because I don't
think anyone should be 100. Yeah.
I don't discount the fact that something crazy could happen. So I'm going to say 95% now. But the things that what you were just talking about with how they're getting confirmation, Poles is getting confirmation from teammates and staff members, and even his mom and dad. He said he had that was actually Eberflus. Said he sat down for an hour and 20 minutes and had a conversation with Caleb about his upbringing, his mom and dad, how they're proud of him, how they. I mean, we talk about the jumping in the stands thing with his mom, and even everything has to be taken in context. Yeah, I wish he would have been with his teammates, suffering the loss with them and not with his mom, not that situation. But he also did an interview in the LA Times. I dissect everything. I'm not just a one facet guy. I dissect everything. And the LA Times article that came out about that, he said in there, he talked to Lincoln Riley and he was just emotional. And he said, I'm human. I haven't been through this before. But when he says those things, those are human approaches that I appreciate, because he is 22. With what you just said, I'm double his age. I mean, he's a 22-year-old kid. What I was doing at 22, and now I wasn't a bad kid. I was just starting my first business and I was doing my stuff. I didn't have it figured out, though. I'm just like him. I'm trying to plug through, figure out what's going on. But I do like the more and more I hear about him. Ryan Poles talking about how he bought all of his linemen gifts at Christmas. Now, that wasn't a scripted thing for the NFL draft. That wasn't something. And if he was thinking that far ahead, great, manipulative, whatever. I don't think that's what it was. I don't think it was next level. I'm going to posture myself this far ahead. I think it was genuinely, dude, I appreciate you guys. I'm getting this NIL money. Nobody else has had this. I'm going to be the first guy to be able to buy my linemen in college these expensive gifts and be there for you guys. The fact that he's doing that stuff, that does translate to, yeah, there might be some turmoil and strife right now in the locker room, because Justin Fields was dynamic and people loved him. You see him right there on the back of your wall. Everyone loved him because he was blue collar. Like you just said, he was Chicago. He adapted to the big market. He didn't say too much. He didn't say too little. He said things when he needed to say them, but he really put his head down and go to work. He wanted to prove himself. I'm going to make sure that I do everything I can to earn this position. That's what we want. Now, if Caleb Williams comes in the same way and he's doing things for his linemen, he's boasting his teammates up, he's giving them glory, he's trying to make sure that it's a situation where he's not over pumping himself, but putting his head down and going to work, and he still stays in the spotlight a little bit, that's fine. That's all we want to see. We just want to see him put in the grind and prove it, and not just have the mantle given to him day one. And so far, I think he's really up to the task. I think why wouldn't he be? I mean, he's not just going to want to come in here, oh, I'm the first overall pick, I'm Jamarcus Russell, I'm done, I'm going to go eat cheeseburgers, get fat, dumb, and happy. I really think he wants to prove himself. He seems like the driven type that wants to be. What did he say? He says, I'm not a business. I'm the business. And also I'm
not a businessman. I'm a businessman.
Yeah, exactly. And then he said other things about how he wants to be the greatest ever. Like, that's not someone who's just going to take that number one pick and take his $50 million and run. I really think he wants to prove himself. And that's what we really want at the end of the day.
I think that was one of my biggest questions initially, before the combine, before the pro day, when it came to his character, it's what kind of I hadn't seen that work ethic from him. I partly because it just wasn't as available as I mean, Justin Fields was on the Netflix show Quarterback. We had seen a ton of behind the scenes about what a hard worker he was, and then he also had the situation during COVID where he had to rally for Ohio State to even play games. And then we saw him in the college football playoffs battle through the bruised ribs, possibly broken ribs. And we saw how tough he was. With Caleb, we hadn't seen all that. So I was curious what kind of a person he was. I love the more that I've seen and heard him and seen him interact with his teammates. I'm pretty much all in now at this point. I think he's separated himself from the other two quarterbacks. To me, he's in a class of his own. I think as far as arm talent, you can argue that Drake May has close to as good of an arm, and I would say you could even maybe put him in the same tier, but I think it's clearly better than Jaden Daniels, or Bo Nix is way down there as far as arm talent. And then I like Bo Nix as a prospect. And then JJ McCarthy has a big arm. I've seen him throw with anticipation. I can't make a proper evaluation on JJ McCarthy. I think he's going to be one of the hardest players ever for NFL talent evaluators to come to a conclusion on, because he's shown you in big moments that, hey, when the game's on the line, I can be trusted, and I can diagnose defenses, see what's in front of me, and take what they give me and get the ball to a playmaker. And he's shown he has a big arm, and he's shown that he's mature. You haven't seen it enough. They didn't pass. Like, the problem was Michigan ran the ball so much, even when they passed, they usually caught the defense off guard. So, and the meat and potatoes of that entire offense was pounding the ball down their opponent's throats, beating the life out of them, taking their will out of them. So to me, it was easier for JJ McCarthy, like he was it was pretty much like trying to judge Brock Purdy in the NFL. It's hard to really, when a guy has it's not just the talent around him, especially at wide receiver. He had good wide receivers, but he wasn't out there putting out numbers. He was winning games and playing smart football. And that's different.
He looked so good doing it. He
and
looks
that's
so
where
good doing it, though.
It's
hard to take
argue,
the knock
right?
on the team for it. Yeah, because he does. He throws with such anticipation. He reads defenses. He can see things unfold better than anybody else in the class, to me. And I'm glad I'm not the one evaluating. But what you just said, I want to point it out.
Enough, though. See, that's the thing. We haven't seen him do it enough. I haven't seen him do enough with his arm. I haven't seen him in too many situations where it's 3rd and 15 in the NFL and you got to come up and make a big pass, or even a 3rd and 10. I haven't seen him in a situation where the defense knows you got to pass all game to beat us and him come out there and do it, because Michigan just didn't do it. They ran over everybody. It was Harbaugh's philosophy and they were really good at it, but he did everything he was asked to, and he did it at such a great level that someone's going to take him really high in the NFL, and he could end up being one of the best quarterbacks in this class. But it's such a tough evaluation for me on JJ McCarthy.
Do we know if the Bears met with him after his pro day?
No, and the thing is, they don't. I believe they don't have to tell us, because they can use a local visit on him. They don't even have to do a 30 visit because it's Michigan. Yeah. I think. I'm not 100% on that, but I don't know if
Michigan's close enough to do that. But I don't know the answer to that either. But we do know. So with what you said, we do know it's become very clear that it's not just smoke and mirrors with at least Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, because today, from the LSU's pro day, right after the pro day, the Bears did not meet with Jaden Daniels, and the Commanders, the Patriots, the Giants, the Vikings, the Broncos, and the Raiders all did meet with him. So that's pretty telling that at least it's not Jaden Daniels in my book. That to me says the Bears.
He was at the pro day though. But yeah,
they were in droves. But I mean, look, you got Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors at the pro day too. You got Mason Smith, who could very well be the 75th pick at the pro day. I mean, they have
a lot of talent there. Yep. And that's where it's like, he had to go to that pro day. And I'm on the same page there. As I said it when I made my Drake May video a week or so ago, is I think, to me, number 2 would be, if it's not Caleb, if somehow Bears did trade down, the Commanders overpaid, they offered us a haul to come up one pick, I think we're taking Drake May at number 2, because of the intangibles he has, the size, the athleticism, the big time arm, and he can do a lot of the things Caleb was able to do. Throw off platform. He wasn't seen doing it enough, but he made some crazy plays. I mean, he had a play where he jumped into a dude, and he's getting sacked, and he just threw it over the middle for a touchdown. It's like, ooh, okay.
He's just way too inconsistent, though. I mean, and the layups, he's like a point guard that can't make a layup, to me.
That's the thing. It's like, that was what was frustrating for him. It's like, he can make the 20-yard out. He can make the curl. He can throw a slant. He can throw a deep fade. He can throw a post, but get him to try to throw a little 5-yard out or a screen or something really easy to a guy wide open, and he's missing them. And that's, coaches are going to see the hard stuff. Hey, what can you do? And I think that's what a lot of scouts do. They ask not what a guy can't do, but what can he do? And when they see all the things Drake May can do, they're like, well, we can get him to throw a flat to the running back. We can fix the super easy layup stuff. That's mostly probably mechanic based. My other issue with him is just the big wind up on his throwing motion. Like that is, they're gonna have to change that. And after we did that with Justin Fields, just don't mess with it. Just take Caleb Williams and be done with it. We don't have to worry
Yeah, I'm
about
not in
fixing
this.
the other guys.
I'm not in the same boat as you, thinking that Drake May's even that high on the Bears board. Even the fact that Ryan Poles isn't even going to Drake May's pro day, that's pretty telling. So to me, at this point, it would be Caleb Williams or JJ McCarthy, and that's just not going to happen.
Ooh.
It's 95% Caleb at this point.
I love it, man. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to say?
No, it's really easy for this civil war to continue for Bears fans, and so we do it and we continue it. And it's worse on Twitter, guys. Stay off Twitter right now. Stay off social media. It's a crap show, but it's easy for us to be at that. But the reality of the situation is, Caleb Williams is 22 years old. I've never been opposed to Caleb Williams. Now I make posts where I'd rather have someone else, and I would rather do this or A or B or C or D. But the reality is, he's probably a Chicago Bear. And I'm just like so many other Bears fans that just want him to go out there and prove it. And so just like everyone else, we just have to remember, we've got the number 1 pick and we've got the number 9 pick, which is really, I mean, with all the quarterbacks coming off the board, it's really like taking number 1 and number 5 or number 6. We've got a real neat opportunity this year. And so it's worth being hyped over. Don't let the negativity overflow us. Don't let his 6'1" height. Don't let his pink phone and his pink fingernails and his pink lip gloss overshadow the fact that the dude does have talent. If he shows up to the draft in a cheerleader outfit or a dress, I'm going to be pissed. He's going to have to prove himself even more. It's not happening. This is cheeky. It's tongue in cheek. But there's so much to be excited about that don't let it damper the excitement of this situation, because we wouldn't be arguing so much about this if we didn't have those 2 top 10 picks. If we didn't have the number 1 over pick, we wouldn't be arguing about this. We wouldn't be having all this going back and forth in civil war. The reason we're here is a good reason, and the Bears just need to get it right. And I really do. At the end of the day, I really do trust Ryan Poles. I just do breakdowns to dissect it and see it and understand it and analyze it. But at the end of the day, he's a genius, and I really trust where he's taking this team. So I hope it's 100% to at least one playoff game this year, one playoff win this year. That's where my expectations are with what we have the opportunity in front of it.
I love that, man. You mentioned
bearing down.
Yep. And Ryan Poles, he continues to impress me with his knowledge. I love how honest and open he is. You can tell he really cares about his players. And he continues to, every year, every time we get to hear from him, he'll bring up perspectives that even I haven't thought of myself. And that's one thing I really appreciate about him. This time it was the amount of draft picks he took the first 2 years. Of course, I knew how many draft picks he took, but I wasn't trying to think of it as, oh, let's look at how many draft picks we average over the years. Whereas he also mentioned this year's drop off in talent, where I've preached about it the last 2 years. I know you heard me, how deep those draft class were due to COVID. But now there's kind of a bounce back effect of that is ended. And then also you got the NIL now, which had more players return to school, which has caused there to be a drop off in talent this year, which I think is Poles is fine not having many picks on day 3 or not even having a pick on day 3. He's like, you know what? We got our 4 guys and we're out of here. Or even if we trade down and get one more, like we got our 5 guys, we're good this year. We'll be back next. We got the number 1 pick. We're good. But he understands the process of building a roster as well as anyone that I've ever seen run the Bears. So like you, I have full trust in Ryan Poles. And to me, I think he's already identified Caleb Williams as his guy. So I'm ready for the new era of Bears football, man. And I'm glad we got to talk about it. I'm glad people could see you're not as anti-Caleb as you come across on Twitter out there.
Dude,
man.
It's Twitter.
I should have never brought you over there, man. I hate that place.
You shouldn't have brought me into Twitter. You ruined me. You ruined everything about it.
My fault. I'm sorry, guys. Well, we'll go ahead. We'll do a 1, 2, 3 bear down. 1, 2, 3 bear down.
Bear down, baby. Bear down.
Yeah.